Those Days with the Monsters, Part 46. It had been a while since the Khumans returned from their trip. Kirrel frequently went around with Happy White on his frills. Sleepy was coming to watch him spar sometimes. He sometimes offered advice, which was often more frightening than Kirrel would have liked, but that didn't matter so much. Sleepy was watching, which meant Kirrel worked twice as hard. He wanted Sleepy to be proud. "Hey, Hook, why are you so focused on flipping people?" Sleepy commented, leaning back in his chair. "That doesn't seem like the best plan." "Why not?" Kirrel would have expected Alex to bristle, but she didn't. The questions sounded genuine, which confused him slightly. He'd asked Bashful, and she'd said that Alex could be considered a genius at hand-to-hand combat. So why wasn't she angry that Sleepy was criticizing her? She seemed deferential? No, that wasn't quite it. He wasn't sure what it was. It was almost like there was no hierarchy between the two, that neither had more skill than the other. That was worrying. Kirrel knew how strong Alex was, or at least he had some idea. He didn't know how strong Sleepy was, but could he possibly be that strong? Well, think about it. The Tizics, for instance. They have 6 legs, right? If you want a spaceman to learn how to flip that, it's not gonna happen. And who knows how many other species like that there are. Flipping only works for bipeds, maybe quads if you get lucky. Any more legs and you run straight out of luck. Sleepy sighed, straightening up. I'd say it's better to teach him hard, vital strikes. Those don't change much if you give him more legs. Alex stood still for a moment, considering this. Then she nodded. "I don't really want him practicing that on Jason, though. I don't know if you know this, but he learns fast. Really fast." Sleepy nodded. "Oh yeah, I know. I've been watching." Kirrel felt Sleepy's eyes on him as he blocked Smee's kick with his tail. The gaze felt warm somehow. Almost, if he didn't know better, he'd say it was affectionate. "I hope he never needs it, but if he does, watch out, world. The spaceman's coming." Kirrel found himself slightly distracted and making more mistakes for the rest of the session. Sleepy's expectations made him nervous. Time passed slowly. The Khumans went out and came back with the scrap of Tizic's ships in tow. Grumpy seemed happy every time, coming out to inspect the pieces, humming a bit to himself. Kirrel wondered what he was up to, but he was still banned from Grumpy's part of the station, since Captain Amelia was still following him around. The captain was starting to talk quietly with the other members of the crew, usually dopey and happy, but sometimes sleepy as well. Once or twice Kirrel spotted him making his way down to Doc's area of the derelict, and he didn't look like he was there to socialise. Finally, at lunch, all the Khuman crew seemed to gravitate towards a few tables in the middle of the room. Kirrel's frills rose slightly, faintly red along the edges. He knew this behaviour. This was a meeting. "Okay, y'all, we got a problem." The captain started off. "And that problem is called Xenon 132. I don't know exactly where it comes from. That's Grumpy's field. But we've been producing a good bit of it somewhere along the way. The trouble is, we can't let it out into the area around the ship, or it'll be detected. If there wasn't Xenon, and now there's Xenon, that's suspicious, and someone's going to stop by for a friendly visit, and then the jig is up." Kirrel didn't know what the jig is up meant, but from the captain's expression, it wasn't good. "We were storing it, but Grumpy says we're almost out of space for it, so we gotta drop it off somewhere. So let's hear it. What are our options?" Grumpy sighed. "If this was Earth, we'd splice it into cobalt and use it in Aladdin's lamp. But that's a big machine and takes a lot of power, and we can't do that. We can't compress it much more than we've been doing, not without risking an explosion and abrupt venting. Our options are to vent it here or vent it somewhere else. Obviously, it's gotta be somewhere else." The captain nodded. "So the next question is where? Where are we putting it?" "How about on the other side of Tizic's space?" Doc asked after a minute. That's about what we did with Kazurkan, right? Sleepy shook his head. I don't like it. Okay, why not? The captain seemed to be focused intently on Sleepy now. Kirrel felt a tiny bit proud. Sleepy was important, and the captain knew it. Well, Sleepy leaned forward with a sigh. I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like that they'd have a sudden appearance of something we're producing. They're on alert, right? They're trying to find a way to catch us before we show up and hit them. I don't like them knowing we're making stuff. And if it's on the other side of their space, well, you know they're not stupid. We've done good so far, but if you give them time to think about it, won't they figure out what we're up to? The room was silent for a moment. Then the captain nodded. Okay, I hear you. We still have to dump it. I know. Sleepy sighed, rubbing his face with his hands. It's a pickle, but we can't let them know we've been building things in their space. You know that. After a moment of silence, Tinker leaned forward. It's a byproduct of making the drones, right? Among other things. Grumpy sounded a bit disgruntled. You should have paid attention, Tink. You're supposed to be one of the smart ones. Well, anyway, if it's industrial, don't they make it too? If they make it, they gotta vent it somewhere too. Why can't we put it where they put it? Grumpy slammed both his hands into the table. I take it back, Tink, you're a damn genius. He was immediately smacked by Alex, who shook her head at him slightly. Sorry, Hook, I forgot. Any objections? The room was silent to the captain's question. No one seemed to have a better idea. After a moment, the captain nodded. Okay then, Dopey, get to work with Bashful. Find out where they're dumping their Xenon and the safest route to it. Grumpy, Tinker, find a way for the fish to take all of it. If it's remotely possible, I want this to be one trip. Everyone nodded and began to stand. Oh, Dopey and Bashful, this is work time, not officially sponsored flirting time. Remember that. Dopey groaned. Ugh, yes, we know. Do you really? The captain had raised one eyebrow. Dopey ducked his head slightly. Fair, yes, sir. Work it is. Thank you for listening to Those Days with the Monsters. Read by me, a good bean.